tests and food safety investigations show that some pasta sold in the UK contains traces of contaminants linked to industrial farming and heavy processing. That means a product millions of people eat weekly can quietly expose you to substances you were never warned about. Behind familiar supermarket brands are cost-cutting practices, low-grade wheat sourcing, and processing methods that strip nutrition while maximising shelf life. You probably never check the details. You trust the logo and the store. In this video, I'm exposing 8 UK pasta brands you should avoid, based on ingredient quality, sourcing transparency, and real consumer data. Then I'll reveal 3 pasta brands that are actually safe to eat using higher quality wheat and safer production methods. And finally, I'll show you how to spot low quality pasta yourself so you're never misled again. Bad brand 8, Tesco Everyday Value Pasta. At first glance, Tesco Everyday Value Pasta seems like a harmless and practical choice. It is inexpensive, widely available, and sold under one of the most trusted supermarket names in the UK, Tesco. For many households, it becomes a routine purchase, a quick solution for busy evenings, tight budgets, and simple meals where pasta feels like a safe option. That familiarity is exactly why it deserves scrutiny. This product is marketed almost entirely on affordability. It doesn't make bold health claims or promise premium quality. Instead, it relies on the assumption that pasta is a basic food made from simple ingredients, and that anything sold by a major supermarket must be good enough. While it does meet legal food safety standards, those standards represent the minimum required, not a guarantee of quality or nutritional value. The real issue begins with how this pasta is made and what goes into it. Tesco Everyday Value Pasta is produced using highly refined durum wheat semolina. During this level of refinement, much of the wheat's natural fibre, micronutrients, and structural integrity are removed. What remains is a product that is far more starch-heavy than traditional pasta made from higher quality wheat. This shows up clearly in how the pasta behaves when cooked. Many consumer reviews describe a soft, mushy texture, pasta that breaks apart easily, and inconsistent results even when cooked carefully. These problems are not simply cosmetic, they are signs of weak gluten structure and over-refined grain, both of which reduce the pasta's ability to hold its shape and digest more slowly. There is also very limited transparency around where the wheat used in this pasta comes from. When sourcing information is vague or absent, it often indicates that suppliers are chosen primarily based on cost rather than consistency, farming practices, or grain quality. While this approach keeps prices low, it also lowers overall nutritional standards. It's important to be clear that Tesco Everyday Value Pasta is not illegal or immediately dangerous. The concern lies in how often products like this are consumed and what they replace in the diet. As a staple food eaten regularly, a low-fibre, low-protein, highly refined pasta can contribute over time to poorer blood sugar control and reduced nutritional intake. When a product like this becomes a weekly or even multiple times per week purchase, the impact adds up. You may save money at the checkout, but you lose nutritional value with every serving. And if this made you rethink what's hiding behind a low price tag, the next brand will make you question just how far some manufacturers are willing to go to keep costs down. Bad brand 7, Asda Smart Price Pasta. Asda Smart Price Pasta is positioned as one of the cheapest options on the shelf, sold by another household name retailer, Asda. For shoppers trying to stretch their budget, it often feels like a sensible compromise. Pasta is pasta after all, or so most people believe, but this is where that assumption starts to break down. This range is designed with one priority above all else, keeping the price as low as possible. From wheat selection to processing speed, there's no emphasis on quality, nutrition, or traditional pasta making methods because those things are expensive and slow. The wheat used in Smart Price pasta is heavily refined and selected for yield rather than strength. As a result, the final product typically contains lower protein levels than better quality pasta. Protein content matters more than most people realize. It's what gives pasta its firm structure, slower digestion, and ability to hold up during cooking. This weakness becomes obvious in real-world use. Many customer reviews describe pasta that splits, turns soft very quickly, or loses its shape even when cooked carefully. These issues point to poor gluten structure and overprocessing, both of which are common when lower-grade wheat is pushed through industrial production lines at high speed. There is also very little information provided about where the wheat is sourced. When a product offers no clarity about origin, it usually means sourcing is flexible and driven by market price rather than consistency or farming standards. That variability often leads to noticeable differences between batches, something many consumers report without understanding why. Nutritionally, this pasta offers little beyond fast-digesting carbohydrates. The refining process removes much of the fibre and naturally occurring nutrients found in whole or minimally processed wheat. Over time, regularly eating foods like this can contribute to quicker blood sugar spikes and reduced satiety, meaning you feel hungry again sooner after meals. As with other budget pasta ranges, Asda Smart Price pasta is not unsafe in the immediate sense. The concern lies in how frequently it's consumed and how easily it becomes a dietary staple. When the cheapest option becomes the default choice, quality quietly disappears from the equation. If this example already feels like a step too far in cutting corners, the next brand raises even more questions, especially about how mass production can quietly override consistency and trust. Bad Brand 6. Sainsbury's Stamford Street Pasta. Sainsbury's Stamford Street Pasta is another budget range product sold under a name many shoppers trust: Sainsbury's. It's often seen as a step above the very cheapest options, giving buyers the impression that they're making a slightly better choice while still saving money. But the problems with this pasta are less obvious, and that's what makes them more concerning. This range is produced at industrial scale, with a heavy emphasis on consistency, shelf stability, and speed. To achieve that, the pasta is made using highly refined wheat and fast production methods that prioritize efficiency over quality. Traditional pasta relies on strong gluten structure and slow drying to maintain firmness, but those steps take time and cost money. As a result, Stamford Street pasta often struggles with texture. Consumer reviews frequently mention uneven cooking, pasta that becomes soft too quickly, and shapes that lose their structure in boiling water. These issues are classic signs of weak protein content and over-refined grain, even when the ingredient list looks deceptively simple. Another concern is the lack of meaningful transparency about wheat sourcing. While the packaging confirms that the product meets UK food standards, it offers little insight into where the wheat is grown or how it's selected. When sourcing details are minimal, it usually means suppliers are chosen based on availability and price rather than quality or consistency. Nutritionally, this pasta offers limited benefits. The refinement process removes much of the natural fibre and micronutrients found in higher quality durum wheat. What remains is a fast-digesting carbohydrate that provides energy but little satiety, which can lead to larger portion sizes and quicker hunger after meals. Again, it's important to stress that this pasta is not illegal or immediately harmful. The concern lies in repeated consumption. When products like this become regular staples, they quietly lower the overall nutritional quality of everyday meals without most people realizing it. And while this may already feel like a warning sign, the next brand shows how even well-known names with stronger reputations can still cut corners behind the scenes. Bad Brand 5. Morrison's Savers Pasta. Morrison Savers Pasta sits firmly in the budget category. Sold by a supermarket many shoppers associate with fresh food and in-store butchery, Morrison's. That association creates a sense of trust. People often assume that because Morrison's has a strong reputation in other areas, even its cheapest products must meet a higher bar. With this pasta, that assumption doesn't hold up. The Savers range is designed to hit the lowest possible price point, and pasta is one of the easiest places for corners to be cut. To keep costs down, the wheat used is typically low-grade durum, selected for availability and yield, rather than strength or nutritional value. While the label may list only simple ingredients, it doesn't reflect the quality of the raw materials behind them. One of the biggest indicators is protein content. Compared with higher quality pasta, Morrison's Savers Pasta tends to be noticeably lower in protein, which directly affects structure. Protein is what gives pasta its firmness and resistance to overcooking. Without it, pasta softens quickly, loses its shape, and becomes dense or gluey when left even slightly too long in boiling water. This is reflected in consumer feedback. Reviews often mention bland taste, poor texture, and pasta that clumps together or turns mushy before the recommended cooking time is up. These aren't minor inconveniences. They are clear signs of weak gluten formation caused by inferior wheat and heavy refinement. There is also very limited information about wheat origin or processing methods. When sourcing details are vague, it usually means the supply chain is flexible and price-driven. That flexibility can result in batch-to-batch inconsistency, where one pack cooks differently from the next, even though the branding remains the same. From a nutritional standpoint, this pasta offers little beyond fast-digesting carbohydrates. Much of the wheat's natural fiber and micronutrients are removed during processing, leaving a product that fills plates but doesn't satisfy for long. Over time, regularly relying on this kind of pasta can contribute to quicker blood sugar spikes and reduced dietary balance. Like the other brands discussed so far, Morrison Savors pasta isn't dangerous in isolation. The issue is frequency. When a low-quality, heavily refined product becomes a staple food, the cumulative effect quietly undermines the quality of everyday meals. And as concerning as this is, the next brand on the list is more surprising, because it's not marketed as a budget option at all. Bad brand 4. Napolina Dry Pasta. Napolina is a brand many people associate with Italian heritage and quality. Its products are widely stocked across the UK, and the name itself carries a sense of tradition that encourages trust, especially among shoppers who believe they're choosing something more authentic than a supermarket-owned brand. Napolina is owned by Napolina, and for years it has positioned itself as a dependable middle ground option. Not the cheapest, not the most premium. That reputation is exactly why this brand surprises many people. The first thing to understand is that not all Napolina pasta lines are the same. While some of its products perform reasonably well, others are produced at a scale that prioritizes consistency, volume, and shelf life over traditional pasta-making standards. This creates a gap between what consumers expect from the brand and what they actually get in certain ranges. One of the key concerns is wheat sourcing. Napolina does not clearly communicate where all of its durum wheat comes from, and sourcing can vary depending on availability and cost. When wheat origin isn't clearly defined, it usually indicates a flexible, price-driven supply chain rather than one built around strict quality control. That flexibility can affect protein levels, gluten strength, and overall cooking performance. This inconsistency is reflected in consumer feedback. Many reviews describe pasta that cooks unevenly, lacks firmness, or becomes soft faster than expected. For a brand associated with Italian cooking, this is a significant red flag. Traditional pasta relies on strong protein content and slow processing to maintain texture, especially when paired with sauces or cooked al dente. Processing methods also play a role. Some Napolina dry pasta lines are produced using faster drying techniques, which reduce costs but can compromise structure and flavor. Faster drying at higher temperatures can weaken the pasta's internal matrix, leading to a smoother surface that doesn't hold sauce well and breaks down more easily during cooking. Nutritionally, these products are often similar to standard refined pasta. Fiber levels are low, protein content is modest, and there is little to distinguish them from cheaper alternatives beyond branding. For shoppers paying more because they believe they're getting superior quality, this represents a quiet but meaningful mismatch between price and value. To be clear, Napolina is not a brand that needs to be avoided entirely. The concern lies with specific dry pasta lines that trade on brand reputation without delivering the quality many consumers expect. When a trusted name masks industrial-scale shortcuts, it becomes harder for shoppers to make informed choices. And if this feels disappointing, the next brand raises even bigger questions, especially about how global food giants adapt their products depending on where they're sold. Bad brand 3. Barilla. Barilla is one of the most recognizable pasta brands in the world. Its blue packaging is synonymous with Italian cuisine, and for many shoppers, it represents a step up from supermarket-own brands. In the UK, Barilla products are widely available and often assumed to be a safe, high-quality choice. The brand itself, Barilla, has spent decades building that image of tradition and reliability. That reputation, however, doesn't tell the full story. One of the main concerns with Barilla's UK market pasta lies in its global sourcing model. Barilla sources durum wheat from multiple countries to maintain year-round supply at scale. While this approach is efficient, it introduces variability in wheat quality, protein content, and farming practices. Unlike smaller or more traditional producers, consistency is achieved through blending and processing rather than strict control at the agricultural level. This matters because wheat quality directly affects pasta performance. Many UK consumers report that Barilla pasta cooks softer than expected, loses its firmness quickly, and struggles to hold sauces compared with more traditionally produced Italian brands. These issues are often subtle, but they are noticeable when compared side by side with bronze-cut, slow-dried pasta. Processing methods further contribute to the problem. Barilla commonly uses faster, high-efficiency drying techniques that prioritize volume and shelf stability. While this keeps prices accessible and products consistent across markets, it can weaken the pasta's internal structure. The result is a smoother surface and less resilient texture, which may look fine in the packet but behaves differently in the pan. There has also been ongoing consumer and media scrutiny around agricultural practices linked to global wheat sourcing, particularly concerns raised in various markets about residue limits and farming standards. While Barilla states that its products meet all legal safety requirements, the key issue for many consumers is transparency. The company does not provide detailed, easily accessible information about where UK market wheat is grown or how sourcing differs by region. Nutritionally, Barilla pasta is broadly similar to other refined dry pasta products. Protein levels are moderate, fiber content is low, and there is little to distinguish it nutritionally from cheaper alternatives despite its premium positioning in many UK supermarkets. For shoppers paying extra because they believe they are getting superior quality, this gap between perception and reality is significant. Barilla is not unsafe, and it is far from the worst option on the shelf. But for a brand built on Italian heritage, the industrial scale and global sourcing behind its UK products raise legitimate questions about quality, value, and authenticity. And if this challenges your assumptions about global brands, the next one is even harder to ignore, because it relies heavily on familiarity and nostalgia rather than how the product is actually made. Bad brand 2. Home Pride Pasta. Home Pride is a brand deeply woven into British food culture. For decades, it has been associated with comfort meals, family dinners, and reliability. Many people grew up seeing it in their kitchens, which creates a powerful sense of trust. That familiarity makes Home Pride pasta feel like a safe, unquestionable choice. The brand behind it, Home Pride, trades heavily on that long-standing reputation. But when you look past the branding, the product itself tells a different story. Home Pride pasta is positioned as convenient and accessible rather than traditional or high quality. The focus is on speed, ease, and mass appeal, which inevitably affects how the pasta is made. It is produced using heavily refined wheat and fast industrial processing methods designed to maximize shelf life and consistency, not nutritional value or texture. One of the clearest signs of this is protein content. Compared to higher quality pasta, Home Pride pasta tends to be lower in protein, which weakens its structure. This often results in pasta that softens quickly, struggles to hold its shape, and lacks the firmness associated with properly made durum wheat pasta. Many consumers describe it as bland, overly smooth, or prone to becoming soggy if cooked even slightly too long. Processing plays a major role here. Faster drying at higher temperatures reduces production costs but compromises the pasta's internal structure. This creates a smooth surface that doesn't grip sauces well and breaks down more easily during cooking. While these shortcuts are invisible on the packaging, they show up clearly on the plate. At this point, if you're finding this breakdown helpful, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. These details don't come from labels, they come from digging into how everyday foods are actually made, and subscribing helps make sure you don't miss future investigations like this. Nutritionally, Home Pride pasta offers little beyond refined carbohydrates. Fibre levels are low, micronutrients are minimal, and the product digests quickly, which can lead to reduced satiety and quicker hunger after meals. When eaten occasionally, this isn't a major issue, but when it becomes a regular staple, the nutritional gaps add up. The biggest concern is how effectively nostalgia masks quality. Many shoppers assume that because Home Pride has been around for so long, its products must be dependable. In reality, longevity doesn't guarantee good sourcing or careful production. It simply means the brand has succeeded at staying familiar. And while this example already raises serious questions about trust and quality, the final brand on this list is the most concerning of all. Not because it's obscure, but because it's sitting in more kitchens than almost any other. Bad brand 1. Tesco Standard Dry Pasta. Tesco Standard Dry Pasta is one of the most commonly purchased pasta products in the UK. It's affordable, easy to find, and sold under a name most people trust without hesitation: Tesco. For millions of households, this is the default option. The pasta that goes into trolleys week after week without a second thought. That level of reach is exactly what makes this the most concerning brand on the list. Unlike the ultra-budget ranges, Tesco's standard pasta sits in a middle ground. It isn't marketed as the cheapest, and it isn't presented as premium either. This positioning gives shoppers the impression that they're choosing something sensible, not cutting corners, but not overspending. In reality, this category is often where the biggest compromises are hidden. To supply pasta at this scale, Tesco relies on high-volume sourcing and industrial production methods. The durum wheat used is heavily refined and selected primarily for consistency and cost efficiency, rather than nutritional quality or protein strength. While the ingredient list looks simple, it doesn't reflect the level of processing involved before the wheat ever becomes pasta. The effects show up during cooking. Many consumers report pasta that softens too quickly, lacks firmness, and struggles to hold its shape, especially when reheated or combined with sauces. These are classic signs of refined grain with moderate to low protein content. Strong, high-quality pasta should tolerate cooking mistakes. This often doesn't. Another key issue is transparency. The packaging provides little detail about wheat origin, farming standards, or processing methods. When products are produced at this volume, wheat is often sourced from multiple regions depending on market conditions. While this keeps shelves stocked, it also means quality is managed through blending and processing rather than careful agricultural control. Nutritionally, Tesco's standard dry pasta is similar to many refined alternatives. Fibre levels are low, micronutrients are minimal, and the product digests quickly. When eaten occasionally, this may not matter, but because this pasta is so widely consumed and so frequently eaten, its nutritional shortcomings have a far greater cumulative impact than less popular brands. This is what makes it more concerning than smaller or cheaper options. A product eaten once in a while has limited influence. A product eaten weekly by millions quietly shapes everyday diets. When quality is sacrificed at that scale, the effect is invisible but widespread. The biggest problem isn't that this pasta is unsafe, it's that it feels safe enough to never question. Familiar branding, reasonable pricing, and widespread availability create a sense of reassurance that isn't backed by superior quality. And now that you've seen how much difference there can be between brands that look similar on the shelf, it's time to shift focus. Because not all pasta is made this way, and some brands genuinely do better. Recommended brand 3. Romo. Romo is a name that doesn't rely on flashy marketing or nostalgia to earn trust. Instead, it has built its reputation on how its pasta is actually made. Founded in Italy and still family-run, Romo takes a fundamentally different approach from mass-market brands, and that difference shows up immediately on the plate. The key distinction with Romo is its commitment to slow processing. While many large producers use high-speed drying to maximize output, Romo uses a method it refers to as slow processing, which allows the pasta to dry gradually at lower temperatures. This preserves the internal structure of the pasta and protects the integrity of the wheat proteins. Protein content is one of the most important indicators of pasta quality, and Romo performs well here. Higher protein means stronger gluten formation, which results in pasta that stays firm, resists overcooking, and digests more slowly. This is why Romo pasta consistently holds its shape even when slightly overcooked, a sign of quality raw materials rather than industrial shortcuts. Consumer reviews frequently highlight this difference. Many people comment on how well Romo pasta maintains an al dente texture, how evenly it cooks, and how effectively it absorbs and holds sauces. These are not minor details, they are the practical results of better wheat selection and more careful production methods. Another important factor is consistency. Because Romo prioritizes wheat quality and controlled processing, the cooking experience is predictable from pack to pack. This stands in contrast to budget or mass-market brands where batch variability is common due to flexible sourcing and aggressive blending. Nutritionally, Romo pasta is still a refined product. It isn't marketed as a health food, but it offers a noticeably better balance. Stronger protein structure means slower digestion and better satiety, which can help reduce overeating and sharp blood sugar spikes when compared to lower quality alternatives. Romo proves that pasta doesn't need unnecessary additives or extreme processing to perform well. It simply needs good wheat, time, and restraint. That combination makes it a clear step up from most supermarket and global brands, especially for people who eat pasta regularly. And while Romo sets a solid standard, there are two brands that take quality even further, using methods that stay closer to traditional Italian pasta making. Recommended brand 2, Deco. Deco is often mentioned by chefs and food professionals for a reason. It represents a more traditional approach to pasta making that prioritizes texture, consistency, and ingredient integrity over speed and scale. Founded in Italy in the late 19th century, Deco has built its reputation on methods that many mass-market brands have abandoned. One of Deco's defining characteristics is its use of bronze dyes. This step may sound minor, but it has a major impact on quality. Bronze dyes create a slightly rough surface on the pasta, which allows sauces to cling more effectively. In contrast, cheaper pasta is often extruded through Teflon-coated dyes, producing a smooth surface that looks uniform but struggles to hold flavor. Equally important is Deco's drying process. Rather than rushing pasta through high-temperature dryers, Deco uses slower, lower-temperature drying. This preserves the structure of the wheat proteins and prevents the pasta from becoming brittle or overly soft during cooking. The result is a product that remains firm, resilient, and predictable even when cooked in large batches. Wheat selection is another area where Deco stands out. The brand is known for using higher protein durum wheat, which directly affects gluten strength. This is why Deco pasta holds its shape so well and maintains an al dente texture without turning mushy. Many consumer reviews point out that it is more forgiving if slightly overcooked, a key sign of strong internal structure. From a nutritional perspective, Deco doesn't pretend to be a health food, but it avoids the worst pitfalls of overprocessing. Protein levels are higher than average, fiber content is consistent with quality refined pasta, and digestion tends to be slower and more satisfying compared with cheaper alternatives. Perhaps most importantly, Deco is transparent about how its pasta is made. While it operates at scale, it hasn't abandoned the principles that define good pasta. That balance between tradition and consistency is why it's often recommended over global mass-market brands that prioritize volume above all else. Deco is an excellent option for anyone who wants reliable, high-quality pasta without stepping into niche or specialty pricing. And while it sets a very high bar, there is still one brand that edges ahead by staying even closer to traditional production standards. Recommended brand 1, Garofalo. Garofalo is widely regarded as one of the closest examples of traditional Italian pasta still available at scale in UK supermarkets. Founded in Gragnano, a region often referred to as the birthplace of dried pasta, the brand has built its reputation around doing fewer things but doing them properly. Unlike mass-market producers, Garofalo's identity is rooted in method, not marketing. One of the biggest reasons Garofalo stands out is its wheat quality. The brand uses high-protein durum wheat selected specifically for strength and consistency, not just yield. Protein content is critical in pasta because it determines gluten formation, which affects firmness, digestion speed, and resistance to overcooking. Garofalo consistently performs at the higher end of the spectrum, and the difference is immediately noticeable when cooking. Production methods are another major factor. Garofalo uses bronze dyes for extrusion, which creates a rougher surface texture. This allows sauces to cling properly instead of sliding off, and it also signals that the pasta hasn't been rushed through cost-saving shortcuts. Combined with slow, low-temperature drying, this process preserves the internal structure of the pasta and prevents the brittleness seen in heavily industrialized products. Consumer reviews frequently highlight Garofalo's reliability. The pasta cooks evenly, holds its shape, and remains firm even if slightly overcooked. These qualities are not accidental. They are the result of careful wheat selection and patience during production, two things often sacrificed by larger brands focused on volume. Nutritionally, Garofalo is still a refined pasta, but it avoids the extremes of overprocessing. Higher protein content contributes to better satiety and slower digestion, compared with cheaper alternatives. For people who eat pasta regularly, this difference matters more than most realize. Garofalo earns the top recommendation not because it claims to be the healthiest option, but because it respects the fundamentals of pasta making. Good wheat, proper drying, minimal interference. When those basics are done right, the final product speaks for itself. How to spot low-quality pasta brands yourself. Once you know what to look for, bad pasta becomes much easier to spot, even without brand names. First, be cautious of extremely low prices. Pasta is inexpensive by nature, but when the price drops far below the average, it almost always means low-grade wheat and aggressive processing. Quality ingredients and slow production cost money, even for simple foods. Second, check the protein content on the nutrition label. Higher quality pasta usually contains more protein, which indicates stronger wheat and better structure. Very low protein is a red flag for over-refined grain. Third, pay attention to wheat origin transparency. Brands that care about quality tend to be open about sourcing. If the packaging provides no meaningful information, it usually means sourcing is flexible and price-driven. Fourth, look at the surface and color of the pasta. Very pale, perfectly smooth pasta is often a sign of heavy refinement and Teflon extrusion. Slightly darker color and a rough texture usually indicate better processing methods. Fifth, notice how the pasta behaves when cooked. Pasta that turns mushy quickly, breaks apart, or struggles to hold sauce is telling you something about how it was made, even if the label looks fine. Finally, don't rely on brand familiarity alone. Long-standing names and supermarket trust don't guarantee quality. Always let the ingredients, processing, and performance speak louder than the logo. If you found this breakdown useful, share it with someone you cook for or shop with. These are the kinds of everyday choices that affect entire households, not just one meal. And if you want more investigations like this, breaking down common foods, trusted brands, and what's really behind the label, make sure you're subscribed. The next one might be something you eat every single day.